Hello, so in this video you get to actually see my face for a change. I'm going to discuss in this video the final project, which is very exciting. We get to take all these skills that we've accumulated throughout not just this time we've been apart, but throughout the entire semester, and put them all together to create one final project. So the final project is going to be worth a huge chunk of your grade. It's going to be worth 20% of your grade. The biggest single item in your grade, but you're going to have a lot of time to work on it. Today is May 18th. The last part of your final project will be due on June 5th. Let's get started with the first thing you're going to need to do. So if you go over to classwork, you'll see that I made a submission for you to submit a project proposal. What you're going to do is you're going to take some toy or item from your household that you're going to recreate as a freehand sketch. You're going to take some of the parts of it and create an orthographic of it in AutoCAD. You're going to create a 3D model of it in AutoCAD. I'm going to go through those things one at a time. So over here on the left side of the screen, you see an example of a toy that could be used for this final project. This is a toy that we actually would be using in class that a lot of people have made this exact project with. So this would be a great example. There are lots of little components, but there aren't crazy details. So you can make everything here with extrusions. This is an ideal project choice. I also have here I have some examples of good project choices and bad project choices. So I'll start with a bad project choice. Very common toy, Rubik's Cube. So this is a bad choice because it does not have many components. It does not have many details. It's really just a bunch of cubes which are easy to create. And if you wanted to create what's inside of a Rubik's Cube, well, that is actually too complex. I've had a student who tried to create that, and she just really struggled trying to get all the little details. And she was, a very good student, but she struggled nonetheless. So before I show some more examples, let me talk about the components. So the first thing you're going to submit is you're going to submit that proposal. You're going to take a picture in an isometric view of your you're going to take a picture in the isometric view of your proposal, and you're going to need to submit 3 of these for approval, ranked. And if you go in the classwork, you'll see the instructions of how to submit those, but you're going to need to take 3 pictures of 3 objects, each of them in an isometric view, and I'll tell you, is it okay or is it not okay, so that you can proceed from there. So some more examples of things, and some things that are good. A toy car, especially a big one, I think is a good idea because there are details in the wheels. You can, and I'm going to show you in the coming days how to make copies of these wheels so you can replicate them in many parts. There are doors, but I think a small like Hot Wheels car is not quite good enough. But something like this is pretty good because there are lots of details you can go off of. Another good one to use, I have here a Nerf gun. It's got all these little pieces. I'll probably I might get in trouble for letting you guys make anything that resembles a gun, but hopefully a Nerf gun will be okay. This is something I hope a lot of us have in our households. Lots of details there that you can work off of and recreate in your 3D model. Something I don't want you to do is a mouse. Now you might think mouse, that's pretty straightforward, but these curves are actually really hard to do. You want to pick something, this is really hard to do in a 3D model in AutoCAD. So you want to pick something that utilizes these extrusion methods that I've shown you so far, like, extrude, press, pull, loft, sweep, and revolve. This gun, really, all these little pieces we can make with loft or extrude. This is just a cylinder. There are details on it, but we can extrude most of these pieces very accurately. So those are some good examples of things to choose. Now let's talk about the other components of this project. You've chosen your project, you've submitted the proposal with pictures in an isometric view. You want to make sure it's an isometric view when you take that picture. And then you need to, once I've approved your project, you need to do this. You need to sketch an isometric. Now, you will get, this file, we've seen it before, this grid that we've printed out and done projects on. You'll print this out and you will draw an isometric. You'll try to get the proportions as close as possible to correct, but the size you don't need to worry about making it perfectly correct. You just want to get the proportions close. So if I was sketching this piece, I wouldn't measure each little part of it to make sure that my isometric was 100% accurate. I would just try my best to make sure that it's proportionally correct. Now I might measure this, I might measure these wheels and say, okay, that's a ½ inch in diameter. I measure it's really like 0.48 inches, but I'll estimate it and then get the proportions based off of that. That's a great thing you can do, but don't worry so much about getting it 100% to scale. Okay, so that's going to be the isometric. That isometric is going to be due on the 26th and of May, and the pictures that I mentioned earlier, those will be due on Tuesday night, so tomorrow night. Okay, after you're done with the sketch, then you're going to proceed to creating orthographics of the parts. So here's an orthographic of, I wish I didn't close that. Let me pause that. Okay, so as I was saying, this is an orthographic of a part. So this is the orthographic of one of the wheels that we see in this shape. This is just the orthographic of one part. I will ask you to create an orthographic of every part of your project. So for this car, for instance, you would make an orthographic file for the door, an orthographic file for a wheel. You don't need to do it for all 4 wheels because they're the same. You just need one. An orthographic for the steering wheel. And if you're not sure how many components to choose from, I would cap it at 10 components, but you want all the essential pieces. If there are a lot of really fine details, like you don't need to do an orthographic for every little piece. And if you're not sure if you're doing enough, too much, too little, let me know. Reach out to me and I'll instruct you accordingly. But we really just want the base components of whatever it is that you're making a model of. So you're going to create an orthographic file for each component. This is an orthographic file for just one wheel. And then the last thing you're going to create is you're going to create the 3D model in AutoCAD using all of the methods that we've learned. So the orthographic parts, those parts that I just showed you, that is going to be due on the that's going to be due on the 31st of May. And all of this is in the post I made, so you should refer to that for the due dates. That's going to be due on the 31st of May. And then the 3D model, I'm going to give you the most time to work on this because this is really an involved piece. You're going to create half of that, at least half of it should be complete by the 2nd of June. And then the final thing, and anything else that you might have been late on, should be submitted by June 5th. So the 3D model, you're going to use all of the techniques that we've covered so far in order to create that. And as you are working through these components of the final project, I will be posting more videos that are going to be helpful to projects. As I'm looking through proposals, I'm going to think about, okay, which CAD techniques are going to be necessary for a good amount of you in order to complete your projects. So I will be putting out those videos and I'll be available for questions. I'll have a few calls where you can talk to me, and I'm always available through the classroom feed and through email and chat, whatever way you use to reach me now. I'll be available for that. So just to review, you're going to submit 3 proposals of things around your house that you want to create. It can be something from the internet. If you don't have anything good from your house and you found something good online, you can post a picture from the internet, but it will be a little bit trickier for you to take measurements and get everything to be proportionally correct when you do your isometric, and it's going to be difficult to do your orthographic parts and your 3D model if you can't measure it. But again, so 3 pictures for your proposal of 3 different choices, and I will let you know if it's okay. You'll rank them in terms of your preference, and I'll let you know if it's okay as quickly as I can. You're also going to sketch an isometric of the part. Does not need to be to scale, should be proportionally correct. So it looks right. It doesn't need to be 100% to scale, however. Then you're going to create an orthographic of all the parts of your project. If there are lots of parts, don't do every single little piece, but do a good amount. I'd say, around 10 is a good amount. And it should be all the critical components of your thing. Like, I wouldn't do all the parts of this Nerf gun and not do this barrel here, right? That's a critical part of this Nerf gun. I might leave out, what might I leave out of here? This is actually a really good project choice, I think. I might leave out kind of like the inner workings. I would leave out the inner workings of here, but I would do this piece that moves for sure as one part. Okay, and that will include all hidden lines, center lines, everything. And then the last thing is you're going to create the 3D model of your project. And that'll be everything. So we're going to have a good amount of time to work on this, about 3 weeks. So, make sure you're getting started as soon as possible. Submit those proposals as soon as possible so I can get the answers back to you as soon as possible for if you can proceed with that project. Okay, that's it for today.